Hey everyone, Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com. I want to wish all of you a happy new year. If you're catching this, I think this is my first post of 2013, so I really hope that you've got some great plans for the new year. And I thought, what a better way to start off the new year than to address three really critical home studio mistakes that I know I've made, maybe you've made, that I would love for all of us to avoid this year so that we actually make a ton of great music. I want you to have the most fruitful, most musical year you could have. And hopefully 2012 was a good one, but I want this next year to be even better for all of us. So pay attention. The first two might seem counterintuitive. The last one might seem overly simplistic, but if you follow me for any length of time, then you kind of know that some of my advice seems overly simple. But if we follow it, it works. And that's all that matters to me, is what works. So home studio mistake number one that we have made, and maybe you're making, is trying to act like you're a pro studio. What do I mean by this? I mean, you look at the pro studios in your favorite recording magazine, you watch some of the interviews of your favorite engineers and mixers, the ones that are making the records that you love. And what do you see? You see them sitting or standing in a beautiful, beautiful tracking space or control room with, gorgeous architecture, beautifully designed, perfectly acoustically treated, great lighting. They always have great track lighting, racks and racks of outboard gear, beautiful hardwood floors, a nice desk, maybe 2 or 3 monitors, a beautiful digital console or control surface or whatever. There's a lot of beautiful things in the studio. And so what happens is, as home studio guys, we see that and we think, okay, that's the goal, to have a legit studio. And so what do? We go buy a bunch of stuff, or we complain that stuff's too expensive, or we try to buy the cheap versions of the really expensive stuff, or we feel like we're not pro unless we have whatever the things are of the day. You know, it could be, oh, you're not pro unless you have additional converters. You're not pro unless you have a tube microphone or a tube preamplifier. You're not pro unless you have a subwoofer. These are all things I've heard. I'm just listing off. You're not pro unless you have a separate tracking room, or you've built out a control room. You're not pro unless you have acoustically treated space. You know, some of these have more weight than others, but whatever it is, we create a list in our own minds, and we debate about it all the time on internet forums or on blogs like mine. People are getting on there with comments saying, yeah, you know, this is the kind of studio you need to have. And so we look at a pro studio, and that becomes our ultimate goal. Like, that's when I'm really able to make music, is when I've got all the gear, I've got it set up just the way I want, it's decorated just the way I want, and then I can really get to work. And that's such a mistake to make, because you're not a pro studio like those guys. Those guys have really expensive places because they're working with really, really nice talent that want to see all that gear in there. And they've got people that, you know, can justify the cost of it. You and I usually don't. Even if you're a professional in this field, I do audio professionally, so I would consider myself a pro, of course, but I don't need all that stuff. The work I do, the people I work with, the results I'm trying to get, none of it justifies all of that junk in my studio. Would it be fun? Oh, yes. Some of my favorite studios I've worked in have a lot of beautiful toys. But the mistake is to try to make that your goal. Don't try to be a pro studio. Use a simple setup and be the most incredible engineer ever, where you're making records that sound like the records the pros are making, only you're using a $300 interface. And what are they using? Millions of dollars of equipment. So that should be your goal. So don't make that mistake. Don't try to be a pro studio, okay? Mistake number 2 we try to make, or we do make, is we don't try to be a pro studio. Okay, what am I saying? I'm saying there are things that pro studios do that you and I should be doing, and we can make the other mistake, which is to think, I am nothing like a pro studio. I'm a home studio, so I'm going to work on my own schedule. I'm going to do things my own way. I'm going to be so relaxed and so chill. There's no clock that I have to watch to save money. I can just be free and inspired and work. And that's a great idea in theory, but the problem is it doesn't work in the real world. In the real world, you and I are really busy. In the real world, you've got school, you've got jobs, you've got wife or kids or husbands or family members, or life happens and you never get around to making all the music you want to, or you're still working on that album from 2 years ago, perfecting it, You still haven't finished recording it maybe. Maybe it's not that you're just tweaking, you just have not gotten around to finishing it. What pro studios do well, and that you and I need to do, is they have deadlines. They have blocked out studio time. They have a calendar, okay? They have to. The money's on the table, and there's not enough time in the day to work with all the clients they would like to work with. So you and I, as home studio guys, need to actually try to be like a pro studio, and treat our time as we would professionals' time. You need to block out time in your studio. You need to say, okay, I want to work on this album for my band, or I'm mixing this record for this other band, or I'm just writing some songs. What's the deadline? When is it going to be done? And then work backwards. Okay, it needs to be done at 6 months from now. I would love to release it 6 months from now. What does my available free time look like? Are my blocks of free time in the evenings, or are they on weekends? Are they in the mornings? Are they just on Mondays? Whatever it is, write it out on a calendar and then book studio time with yourself so that it's written in stone. So you say, yes, I did commit to coming in and doing bass guitar next week. You'll feel that pressure to do it because you're valuing yourself finally. You're valuing your time like you would in a pro studio. If you just wing it, you don't actually show yourself enough value. So that second mistake that home studios make is they don't try to be like a pro studio in the vein of booking time and treating your time as valuable. You'll get way more done, you'll perform better, and you ironically will be more creative and more inspired when you have a set time that you have to go in the studio, because then you'll just come and you'll be single-mindedly focused. Okay, I'm here, I'm gonna just work on vocals today, and you will bang out some great vocal tracks. All right, that's the second mistake. Mistake number 3 that home studio users make is we forget that it's all about having fun. I don't know why this happens. This is like, I see this all the time. Almost 90% of the conversations I'm having with people like you all around the world, in internet forums, I meet at conferences, in the studio, whatever it is, our conversations 90% of the time don't seem to be about anything fun. They're all about gear or technique or frustrations or resentment. I wish I had gotten this done, or I haven't made as much music as I'd like to. Not that we shouldn't be talking about gear, finding the right gear, or working through our frustrations, but my point being is we forget why we got into this. We forget why you even have a home studio. You forget why are you watching this channel right now or reading this website. It originally probably was because you love music and you want to make great music. Either you're the songwriter, the artist, the performer, or the engineer. You just love all aspects of great music and great recording, and it was fun at some point. And what happens is we get into it because it's fun, and then we realize there's a lot to learn, and it's harder to record and mix music than we thought, and so then we're on the internet, we're reading books, we're going to college for it, we're taking classes, we're going to workshops, and somewhere along the line, the soul of why we do this gets stolen, and it's not fun anymore. And then what happens is you don't make great music. You're not mixing great music. You're not recording great music because you just have it as this mechanical thing. I have to make the best sounding tracks possible, which is a soulless endeavor. It's a pointless endeavor unless it is attached to fun and joy and reveling in the blessing that is music. And so the mistake that we make in the home studio is spending way too much time debating the stuff that is merely tools to have fun and create art. That's what this is all about. Always, always, always. And I have to remind myself about this. So this year, you really want to remember that it's all about fun. Ask yourself, am I having fun, or am I just stressing myself out? Am I having fun doing this, or am I just creating more pressure and more hours wasted on the internet, not really getting to my goal of having fun in the studio? The guys that have fun are the guys that are making some of the best sounding music out there. It's just the way it works. When you actually are at peace and enjoying it and create an environment where you can have fun, you ironically will be a better engineer. You'll make better mixing decisions because you'll be mixing to make a great sounding song, not a mixing to make a technical masterpiece, which is not the point, by the way. So, in review, the 3 home studio mistakes that I critically want you to avoid this year are: 1, do not try to be a pro studio. Don't try to just buy gear. Don't try to look fancy. Don't try to be like them. You're not. You're in a home. They're in a pro facility. They have different goals than you do. Don't try to be a pro studio, okay? Number 2, try to be a pro studio. Don't not try to be one. Don't discount the fact that they treat themselves as professionals. Treat yourself like a professional. Take your time seriously. Value your time, and please have a calendar. Get your phone out, write it down, get your iCal out on your Mac, whatever it is. Write down when you're working on stuff, especially if you don't have much time, especially if this is really just a hobby. If you only have 1 hour a week to work in your home studio, make sure that that is blocked off every week and you know exactly what you're gonna do in it every week, even if it's I wanna spend an hour just writing music and see what happens. That's great, write that in your calendar. So try to be a pro studio. And then the final mistake that we make, I want you to avoid, is make sure you're having fun. If you're not having fun, that's a mistake. Then stop doing this. This is all about fun. The people that have fun are the ones that are the most creative and the most successful, and they're the most motivated to keep at it, which is how you get better. So have fun with it, guys, okay? It's 2013. It's a new year. This is the year that you could be making the absolute best, most incredible music of your life, either as an artist, a songwriter, or an engineer, or all three. Don't let these mistakes get in the way. Don't let anything that's secondary to the music get in the way of the music this year, okay? I hope you enjoy the video. I hope that this year's stuff on my site, on the YouTube channel, is helpful to you. There are a lot of other great resources out there that I love and appreciate, that inspire, motivate me. You can see a lot of those on my site that I mention from time to time, but please just take all these resources and use them ultimately to make great music, share it with people, and just enjoy the art and the blessing that is music, okay? Take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on another video soon.